Hello, guys, and welcome to the Shrewsbury Biscuit podcast. I'm Alex Whiteley. Thank you for tuning in. We've got a great interview to bring you today, and I want to say thank you to Andy McKeown for setting this up, a mutual friend between today's guests and I. And today I'm speaking to John Wragg, who has an amazing exhibit at the Hive right now. And I've just been and I record. There is a video of the visual representations of John's work on our TikTok channel. So. And on YouTube too, so feel free to take a look at that. But you should definitely, before we go into this podcast, or even while you listen to it, just give John a bit of a Google, John Wragg, W-R-A-G-G, and look at his work because it is phenomenal. Blew my mind. So thank you for joining the show today, John. How are you?
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Let's start off with young John. Where does young John come from? Where do you originate? And what were you like as a youngster?
I was born in Stockport, Cheshire. I'm brought up nearby in a village called Hazel Grove. And I got into being interested in art very early age.
Is it something that just grabs you?
Yeah, it was something I was naturally had ability in.
Yeah, it's what they call a vocation or a calling.
Yeah. And at school, primary school, secondary school, I was one of those kids who was known to be good at art, which was quite handy, really, because I was lousy at maths and most of the other academic subjects. So I used to be able to get deals with, I'd do their art homework if they'd help me out, that kind of thing.
Oh, nice.
I was very interested in American comics. I mean, I'm going back to the 50s when American culture was probably a lot more exotic, or seems so, than it is today.
Okay.
But I was very interested in American comics because it was quite different to English comics, which were available. The style, the way they were drawn, the whole business was very appealing to me. So,
what kind of comics would you read when you were younger?
I was particularly interested in DC and Marvel comics.
Okay.
And I still am. They were the sort of benchmark.
The art's changed very much, hasn't it, over the years?
It has. I think for the worse. I like the sort of 50s, 60s style. And I like the paper that they were printed on. You know, I don't like that shiny.
It's quite coarse, isn't it, the old paper?
Yeah, it's quite coarse and seems to really work well with that Ben-Day dot system that they used, you know, which was taken up by, obviously, Lichtenstein in his pop art work. And you don't see that so much now in the modern comics, the modern versions. So I started off really by copying stuff from those comics.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Because they are wonderfully drawn. And I was also very taken with the adverts that you got in those comics at the time. You used to get this page of adverts with all sorts of amazing offers. And you'd often see art courses advertised with a little drawing of what you could expect to get if you signed up, like a drawing table. And I remember applying for one, even though I lived in, you know, Hazel Grove in England. Never got a reply. So what I did was I ended up building my own.
Wow.
And set that up in the bedroom, which I guess was my first studio. And then I got a shed in the garden, and one thing led to another.
You didn't blow anything up though, and if you know any crazy experiments whilst you're working with art and things.
Oh gosh,
engineering.
No, nothing like that. No, I was just drawing and painting.
I have my son. He's 15. Hi, Alfie. He has suddenly found out he's very good at drawing. Like, it sounds like a crazy concept, but it's just something just clicked. We went to Comixolopia. He's a huge Walking Dead fan. He met Charlie Adlard,
right.
And my good friend Mike Perkins as well.
Right.
And Charlie was very nice, and we had guest badges, press badges. And on his press badge, he drew one of the characters from The Walking Dead. Charlie did, and Alfie's gone home with this bit of art, this tiny little bit of art that he's got, and it's just blown his world. It's absolutely just made him. And now he's going out there, he's drawing pictures of Negan from the Walking Dead and characters, and he's perfectly imitating this art. He's now drawing animation. And I've had to write to Mike Perkins, DC artist, local, very nice guy. If you haven't met him, you should definitely, he's a really good guy. And I said to him, what do I do with this? Like, what do I do with this? And he's like, just get him to draw. He's like, still life or life drawings, perfect. Draw hands, draw face. Just Absolutely. Get him to sit and draw. Is that what you recommend for young people?
Absolutely, especially in the time we live in. Art schools have completely changed. In many art schools, drawing isn't even taught. It's not considered necessary. And obviously I'm of a certain age. I disagree with that entirely. I think that drawing is the backbone of the whole business, because it's not just about drawing, it's about learning to see like an artist sees.
Wonderful.
So you need to draw anything and everything. That's what happened to me. I mean, I got beyond the comics. I started going out, drawing from nature, from real life. I draw from anything. I just loved the whole process of it. And when I was 11 years old, my grandmother, who was, I think I was telling you before we started, a big influence in my life, took me to Bellevue Zoo in Manchester, which existed at the time. It doesn't any longer. It's been scrapped. But when we got there, I noticed all these young teenagers sat around with boards in front of them in various locations, drawing. And I just wondered what they were doing. So I wandered up to one particular chap who seemed amenable, looking over his shoulder, and asked him what he's doing. And he said, "Oh, we're art students from Stockport College, which is nearby." And I said, "Art students? Yes, we're studying art, and this is part of our course." And I said, "You mean you can actually go to a special place to study art?"
Oh, bless you.
And it was a revelation, and I knew immediately that was for me. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did.
Yeah, I think it still happens today, doesn't it? Where kids are like, "No, you've got to be a doctor. You've got to be this. You've got to be a policeman. You've got to get in business. You've got to become a plumber. You've got to do this. You've got to. You've got to have a qualification or that fits in with society." No, I feel like you followed your heart, and like it's nice that you were able to do that, because there's a lot of pressure out there if we did not do that, isn't there?
No, my parents were very understanding.
That's
and
nice.
supportive.
That's nice. That's good.
They never tried to deter me from what I wanted to do. Quite the opposite.
That's lovely. Yeah. I mean, it's good that you did that. I mean, once you did go to college and once you were in that zone, did you feel like that was part of you then? That was like that you were on your journey, or was it?
Well, initially I started my art education at Salford School of Art, where Lowry went. And I went there on the advice of my teachers from grammar school, who thought it would be an ideal place for me. I must admit, I should have checked it out more thoroughly. What I signed up for was a vocational course, and it would have led to me becoming an ergonomic designer, designing chairs and the sort of seats that go into cars. But the first year was a foundation year where we did everything, and we did a lot of drawing, we did sculpture, we did, you name it, we did it. It was a proper foundation. It was very, very good. But when the second year started and I began to do the course that I'd signed up for, I knew it wasn't for me. And I'd really got into my own work. I'd got my own studio where I was living in a friend's house, and I was painting seriously. And I knew that I was on the wrong course. So I applied to go to St. Martin's in London, and I got an interview, which surprised me. So I got all my work together in a folder and went down there on the bus, and I got accepted. And I got accepted, as you could do in those days, on the basis of my work. I didn't have enough, I think I said earlier, my academic side's terrible.
Yeah.
So I just managed to get in on my work on the basis that during the first year there, I would have to obtain those qualifications.
Wow, was that difficult for you?
No, I had a friend who was an English teacher. You didn't need maths in those days, thank God, so that was okay. But I needed English language. I was very good at English literature, but English language, I couldn't get it because my grammar and the sort of that side of it was something that I couldn't get the hang of. But I did get it in that first year through the help of my friend. And then I got onto the degree course, and I ended up with a first-class honours degree.
Well, congratulations! That's really good. It's nice that you just. I get this image in my head of these bells ringing in your ears. This is what I want to do, and you're setting yourself out on that path, and you work your hardest to get there, and you got it. That's just a really nice. It's nice.
Yeah, they're kind of what you call illuminating moments that happen in life.
Yeah.
They happen to many of us.
Yeah.
And I think that they are really significant. If you don't acknowledge those, you're denying yourself what you probably should be doing.
It's kind of what I got in my 30s with this. I recorded something, I heard my voice, I was like, actually, do you know what? That's not that bad, actually. I'm not too bad at this.
Yeah.
And I hear some of my interviews back, and, this is, I was talking to someone about narcissism the other day. I remember I was listening to the radio, and somebody was like, oh, you shouldn't be a narcissist. And then the comeback was that narcissism is kind of a human instinct, a natural born human instinct. You've got to be good at something, so when you are good at something, you've got to flaunt it. And I was like, that kind of makes sense, because I've always been told you shouldn't be a narcissist, but if you're good at something, own it. I'm not too bad at this.
Well, of course, with art, you get certain artists who are purely interested in making the art, but that's only part of it, and especially these days. You've got to be thinking about where's this work going? It's not really finished until it's seen, in my view.
Exactly, yeah. And is there a piece, say after you finished your education? What did you do with your qualification afterwards? Did you?
Well, I applied to get in the Royal College, which I didn't. I didn't make it. But I'd got the backup that I'd already decided that if I didn't get out, I would teach. So I'd got a place at Hornsey on a postgraduate teaching course, which I was entitled to do in a year after obtaining my degree. And that's what I did.
Oh, fantastic.
And I started off teaching. I knew then at the time I'd be able to get work because there was a lot of part-time teaching available then in 1970. It's obviously changed a lot now. Mm. So I started off teaching both in secondary, and I had a job teaching at Southgate College as well, lecturing. And I did that for a couple of years. I was teaching at Holland Park School in London, which was the first purpose-built comprehensive school in Britain, and It was absolutely massive. It had 2,500 pupils in that day.
Wow.
And the art department there had 14 teachers of art and the whole top floor of one of the blocks. And my job was because I'd done painting and printmaking as my degree, I was given the job of setting up a printmaking department because that was the one facility they didn't have. So I did that and really enjoyed it. But while I was there, it was such a big school, we used to have a house system. So I only knew, and I didn't know all the people even in my own house, but I used to go to our staff room at break time and have coffee. And there I met this guy who turned up who was teaching part-time music. And it turned out that he was also in a band and they were rehearsing, and we used to talk about this. And I'd always been interested in music, played a bit of guitar myself, been in a band when I was at Salford. And he said, well, why don't you come along one day and see what we're up to? And they were rehearsing. They were obviously very, very serious about what they were doing. They had this rehearsal pad in Covent Garden. And when I got there, it was all set up as if it was for a gig. And when I heard them, I just knew they were going to be big. And it turned out they were Roxy Music.
Wow.
And one thing led to another. I started helping them out doing gigs here, there, around London, local gigs. They didn't have a manager at the time. They were doing what are called agency gigs. So it was just a question that the agency would book a gig, you'd get there, you'd have to do everything else. So I was on that side of things. And then Brian Ferry, who was obviously the main man, booked Streatham for the day and invited certain management agencies to come and see that what he did was their show. And by the end of the day, he'd got a deal with EG Music.
Wow.
Who had Emerson, Lake and Palmer, King Crimson. I don't know if people have heard of these bands now. People from these bands are still around. They were really big agency. And then the whole thing changed from being what it was into doing an album, doing tour. And my moment with that was that on the first LP, there's a track called Virginia Plain, and I had a motorbike at the time, and my motorbike's on that track because there's a particular chorus where I think it's something like Teenage Rebel of the Week, she's so something, she's so sleek, and then you hear this motorbike revving. Well, that's my BSA Gold Star going down Piccadilly at 3 o'clock in the morning because there's nothing like radio mics in those days. I've got a mic like you've got in your hand with a damn great long lead attached to the microphone on the engine of my bike.
I love that. That's wonderful.
And
you must take an awful lot out of that, when it comes to the music industry, because I know there's a lot of blood, sweat and tears, a lot more blood, a lot more sweat, right? But there must be moments where the clouds sort of part and you see it for the art that it is.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
did that inspire you?
Yeah, I mean, the reason I got into it through, as I was saying, meeting Andy McKeown at Holland Park, was my work was going through a bit of a hiatus. I wasn't satisfied with what I was doing. So when I got the offer to work with them full time, it was absolutely opportune. And I still scribbled away in my sketchbooks, but I wasn't doing anything ambitious. I wanted to stand back and I wanted to get some new ideas. So, as I say, one thing led to another, and they got a tour for America. And I'd always wanted to go to America. So I decided, because by that time I'd been with them 3 years, and I was beginning to think, maybe, enough's enough. I'd used the American trip to gather some ideas. So while I was over there, because we went for about 3 months, I just took hundreds of photographs of all sorts of things. And I knew I was going to use those when I came back, because I'd already told Brian Ferry that when the American tour was over, I wanted to finish working with the band. Got back to Heathrow at the end of the tour and went to collect my bags. Not there. And they were missing. All the photographs I took in America I'd had developed over there. I had 3 cameras, all my personal belongings, everything I'd collected on the tour in my bags. Never saw it again.
Oh, that's so sad.
So it was devastating, really, when I came back. I really was at a loose end for quite...
This was the time you couldn't Google a picture,
No.
These pictures of everything.
No, it's all before that. Oh. So I lost everything. All I had was the memories. So I had to start again from scratch in a different direction.
But do you think it's worthwhile that you had that pinnacle feeling, that moment, that thought of, I'm inspired here, I want to go and make something myself, and that's why you took those photos? Do you think that motivation is quite priceless in a way? I mean, I know you didn't get your photos, you lost, that's devastating, that really is, but just that motivation,
I was determined that I was still obviously going to, return to what I felt I was really about, which I did. I just had to take a different route.
Of course. So you come back, and then is this when you start making beautiful art and standing there? And where does the name John Wragg begin? With synonymous with art. It's hard to say really. I mean, apart from, I had 2 layoffs from it. The first one I've just obviously talked about. Yeah. And the second one was later on when I studied hypnotherapy for 3 years and became a qualified hypnotherapist with a view to looking at it as a means of earning, quite frankly, an income after I finished teaching, because I didn't feel that my pension would be enough. Can I just say, John, you're making me feel really inferior as a human being right now. You're so brilliant at going on. Like,
I have no wish to do that.
No.
You're not.
You are so industrious. I love it though. It's so inspiring that you're like, I'm gonna go learn about hypnotherapy. Done. I love it.
Well,
it's fantastic.
Again, I got interested in hypnosis when I was at St. Martin's, because part of the program was you had to sign up to a program of liberal studies. And there was a choice of things that you could do. And one of the choices was working with a guy who was using hypnosis to solve design problems. And that really interested me. And it turned out that he was incredibly interesting. And I've forgotten his name, but he was working on a book using hypnotic subjects to design the safest car in the world, which he actually did in the end. But I mean, it was totally unfeasible that it could be built because it would have been so expensive.
Yeah.
But what he had were these deep trance subjects, and he brought this particular deep trance subject called Janice to one of the sessions. And what he'd asked us to do before she came was to design our ideal kitchen. So we all designed our ideal kitchens with drawings and notes. And what he did was he brought Janice and he put Janice into our kitchens through hypnosis. So she'd be trying out the kitchen that you designed, saying, yes, this is good, this works really, I don't like this, what. And that's how he was using these deep trance subjects for design. So I had this interest in hypnosis, and that's why I got involved in it, studying it for therapy later on, when I stood back from art for, again, a couple of years.
I'm very interested in hypnotherapy and hypnosis. For Pod Aid, which I mentioned before we recorded, we're speaking to Rob Chapman. He's in Whitchurch. He's very prominent figure in hypnosis in the UK, and I'm really looking because I've never really sort of delved into that before. Never really had that conversation. So, when you see, all these gimmicks on stage, just turn someone into a chicken and all these sort of things.
Yeah. You don't want to go there. That is really, it can be very injurious, both mentally and physically.
He's very good at therapy. That's his side of things. And magic, he likes to do magic, but I'm looking forward to finding out about that. But I'm interested about hypnosis and art, like you were just saying, because I've seen so many art concepts over the time when people talk about hypnosis, when they talk about music, when they talk about drugs, and the kind of mind states you put yourself in that will affect your art. Have you experimented with this over a while with hypnosis? And
I never got to the stage where I did that. That's what I wanted to do, but I have to confess I never got there. I had people who were interested in working with me to experiment, but I just didn't have the time, because when I'd actually finished and became qualified, by the way, you don't have to be qualified to become a hypnotherapist. That's one of the, I'm not sure whether that's the situation today, but anybody could become a hypnotherapist. And I think that's one of the problems with it, because there's a lot of people out there who are not really the real deal.
Okay.
So
So, I mean, like with hypnotherapy, with hypnosis, did that give you a chance to, while you were, pursuing that part of your life, did that give you a chance to sort of recharge your batteries as far as your art inspiration? Because we've just been looking at your art now, and I'm blown away by not just the detail in the art itself, but the detail in which the art exists, if that makes sense. The little, like we were talking about, there's an art piece to the left, and there's an art piece to the right, and you're saying that is this one here to the left is as if you were standing right in the middle of this painting right here. So you've painted something, you've made something, and you've gone, I wonder what it would look like if I was standing right in the middle of this. That thought process to me is fascinating.
Well, I've obviously seen a lot of higher dimensional art by various, there's a lot of artists who've actually been involved in it. I mean, that was again once I got into the subject, I discovered there were many, many artists who were or have been interested in high dimensional geometry and high dimensional art. I just wanted to create this idea that rather than being outside these particular forms, I wanted to sense what it would be like to be inside. And I hadn't seen much art from anybody that really reflected that, literally that viewpoint. And it has occurred to me recently that with the progression of virtual reality, I'd really like to meet somebody who could create a program. I know it could be done.
Andy McKeown, probably.
Put somebody into a 4-dimensional environment.
Wow, yeah.
And I think that could be very interesting.
That would be brilliant. I mean, there are so many, we've got the Oculus at home, Oculus 2. So it's VR, and you can play the games. And there's so many things about that seem so simple when you think about it, but when you're actually there and when you're doing it, it blows your mind. I love Rick and Morty. It's an animated TV show, and it's all about science. It's fantastic. It's bizarre. It's wacky. But there's this VR game where you can be in Rick's garage, and you can grab things and you can replicate them. So you can take something that's red and something that's blue, and it'll make something purple, and you put it in the scanner and it pops out, and you can make all sorts of things with different parts, components of his garage. And that idea for me, to do it in a virtual reality environment, just blows my mind. Like, you can sit there for hours just playing with that thing.
I think it would be incredible.
But to see the art that you've made and to walk around it,
yeah.
And there are after looking at your art, I'm looking at things around this room. We are at the Hive right now, in the sound room in the Hive. So thank you to the Hive for letting us do this. And around us, there's acoustic foam. There's your standard bumpy pyramid style foam, and over on the back wall here, there's just this mountainous, landscapey type foams. Almost, I don't know how
Pyramids.
to describe. Yeah, and I see bits of your art in this, and in that, and on here. You must see inspiration everywhere you go.
Well, it's curious that you say that, because what I've been doing of late is looking around for where I can see certain things around us that allude to what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of stuff takes me with reflection, mirrors. And I am working on a painting at the moment, which I actually did start 18 years ago, and have worked on it on and off, which is simply the image of a ceiling mirror in a Chinese restaurant. So you've got the reflection in the mirror below it of what's happening. The mirror itself had a design etched onto it of cranes and water lilies. So you've got that space as well. And then you've got the actual space you're stood in, which would be the space you would be in if you were actually looking at the mirror in the restaurant with a lantern hanging down into your space. And I mean, that's essentially very simple in terms of ingredients. But when you start to manipulate it as an image, it's really interesting. And obviously, I must finish it. It's just something that I.
18 years living inside that head of yours. It's got to be released.
Well, I started it 18 years ago, but I mean, it's not uncommon for me to go back to things over a period of time and either rejig them or rework them or reinvent them, which I'm, again, in the process of doing at the moment with a piece of work.
I've got, I mentioned my friend Eric Pfluger. I always bring Eric up on these podcasts. Eric, you are living inside my head. You need to start paying rent. He's a very nice guy. He's one of my mentors. He's helped me through life an awful lot. And he has painted, he's done many wonderful things. If you listen to the podcast Hollywood Babylon with Kevin Smith, you know straight away who Eric Pfluger is. He's famous. And he has this visual representation of the Force. And it is wonderful. I will show it you at the end of the, I'll try and find it out. Great. And he did a smaller version and sent it to some people. It's a Star Wars based thing. And he won't tell me who's interested in it, but he was like, I need to make it bigger, Alex. I need to make it bigger. So he's had to re-go and do it. And he started it. And I think he got like 40 days into this thing. It's huge. And he had to put it down.
40 days and 40 nights.
Yeah. I think it's taken him about, I don't think he's finished it yet, but it's taken him like 90 days, 100. He was like, I can't do it anymore. He's like, I need to get a rest from this thing. It just bored inside him. A hole, and it just seems to me like he needed to take a break from it because it was just driving him insane.
Well, I'll have to check him out.
Yeah, and this is credit to Eric because he put it down, but then he was like, I need to carry on with it. And it's just does that happen to you? Do you ever start a project and it just drives you insane that you just need to put it away for a little bit?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's quite common. Sometimes that doesn't happen. You just sail through, and the thing.
That's his visual representation of the Force,
right?
Star Wars. That's just a smaller version. Of course, he's done a massive one. It's.
And is this all painted?
He uses pens normally, and what he does is just.
And he works in Shrewsbury.
No, he's actually in Florida.
Oh, right.
Well, I can see
quite a long way away.
Yeah. He's a very nice guy, though. We started doing a podcast called Yelling at Clouds because he's a bit older than me, and he likes the idea of having a good rant, but mainly about art and about how people perceive art, especially young people, and how people overlook certain things.
Yeah.
So we've done so many different bits of
that goes back to what I was saying to you earlier.
Yeah.
Is that drawing is about teaching people to see.
Yes.
Not so much about giving them the actual facility to draw. It's the facility to use their eyes and brain. And it is amazing. I mean, it's not an uncommon experience that if you're sat with your work in an exhibition, to watch, I find it fascinating watching people, how they react. I mean, a lot of people look, but they don't see. They don't see anything. And other people spend time, and you can see that they really are absorbed in what is going on.
And I feel like... he's talking about you taught students for a while and stuff. You've got to be able, I'm sure, without even, you are great at what you do, of course, but like you can see that inspiration just when someone's just so focused on what they're seeing that you can see they're just, like you just said, absorbing it and becoming one.
I mean, when that happens, you get into, this thing called the zone. You're in the zone. And you'll be working away, and you're surprised that once you step back, 2 or 3 hours might have gone by, and it might seem like 5 minutes.
I do that all the time, because
that's a real sign that you're really into what you're doing.
Yeah, it's weird, though. It's right.
That's what that needs to happen to lots more people.
Is that okay? This is going to sound like a really dumb question because I do that, like video editing. When I'm because I've just done a great video I'm about to release with KG Theatre. Although I'm going to hold it onto this podcast for a little bit, so it might already be out there. KG Theatre. I was like, okay, I'll do this video, and I'm clicking away. I'm doing my things, and this is like I always say, like editing, audio editing or video editing is my palette. This is where I paint. All right, this is what I'm doing, and like 5 minutes have gone by, but it's not. It's like you said, it's like 3 hours. Is that? It's going to sound really weird. Is that hypnotism? Have I hypnotized myself into my art? Like,
it's very, very much in the same area. You're in a trance.
okay.
I mean, most people have experienced trance. I mean, I used to get a lot of people say, you know, the usual thing, oh, you can't hypnotize me, you know, and all that. And quite frankly, with people like that, I say, well, I'm not even going to try.
Because you're dismissive of it straight away.
Yeah, but if you've sat in front of a real fire and watch the flames, that's very common that you get images from that. And the other one, of course, which is very common, is the driving trance.
When you've gone over like 5 roundabouts and you don't even realise you've done it.
Yeah. And you're in trance.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You can totally change time in trance. I mean, by regressing people back in time, you can even move people forward in time. You can slow time down, which is why you can use trance for pain control, because you can actually slow down the time, or you can speed the time up with a certain suggestion.
I remember I was speaking to a lot of people about well-being a couple of years ago, and I was looking at I was trying out hypnotism and little things. I mean, one of the things I still do, and I'll mention it on the show a few times, is the cold shower thing. Just today, my shower's got this amazing thing. I don't know if your shower does it too, but it takes forever to warm up. So it's like, and I was in a rush, but I was like, it's okay, because I don't mind the cold shower. But that's a good moment for me to reflect, and that's the breathing and the thing, and I feel the water going down my back. That's something I still genuinely do at least 2 or 3 times a week. But with meditation, I did try, and I did get to a point where it was a stressful day. I had lots going on. I was about to do a lot of filming. I was like, I need to decompress a little bit, and I tried the bit of meditation, and it took me. It's weird. I don't know. I just listened to the app on my phone, listened to the music, listened to my breathing as you're supposed to do, and I wasn't putting any thoughts in my head. Just thinking about these things, and I jetted back to when I was like 14 in the Army Cadets. We'd been putting up a 12-man tent, a big, massive army tent thing, and we'd finished putting it up, and then the adult instructors were like, right, have a drink, lie down in the sun for a bit, and we were lying in this tent, and the wind's flapping the flaps of the tent and stuff like that, and I was there. And that was just a weird thing. And like, you're talking about you can go back in time and go forward in time. I didn't tell my mind to go there. It just went there. It's just a weird feeling for me. I like to be in control.
Well, there's a lot of conjecture at the moment amongst certainly quantum physicists that time might not exist. It's an illusion.
Okay.
So
interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of information about that around. There's just something called the block universe, which you'd have to check out. I mean, it's like me with my 4-dimensional art. I'm not up to speed with any of the maths behind it or technical aspects. I'm only really up to speed with the visual side of it and how I can manipulate that and the geometry that I'm comfortable with. I'm not technically minded in that sense.
There's a brilliant scene. I know we're running short on time. We've got 40 minutes already. See, I told you it would go quickly. 40 minutes already.
Is that 40 minutes?
Yeah,
well,
but
there you go.
We can keep going.
There's an example of what we're talking about.
We've got a few more minutes. There's the most recent up to date, example of geometry meeting art and the maths and the clever thinking behind it is the latest Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man No Way Home.
Right.
And Spider-Man fights Doctor Strange. And normally Doctor Strange like, I'll destroy you. And he fights Peter Parker who shoots webs, right? And he throws them into the mirror dimension, and everything is multiplied by 8 or something, I think it is, and it's all spiraling around him. And they're on this train, they're fighting, and Peter Parker goes, "Okay, so there's 8 times this, and if I spin my webs here, 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 and here, and pull them together like this," and he trapped Doctor Strange inside this universe and jumps out, grabs his ring and jumps out. And I was like, he beat Doctor Strange with geometry and maths, and I thought that was really, really clever.
Yeah, I'll have to see it.
Yes, fantastic. But your art here is here at the Hive. How long has it been here?
It's been here since last Friday, the 2nd, and it's here till the 28th.
Fantastic. And
but the Hive is open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Have you been able to speak to many people looking at your art, young people, old people? Have you been able to talk a lot about it?
Well, I did a talk on Wednesday where I had about a dozen people here who'd signed up to come and listen. But obviously, because I live some way away from here, I can't get here
every day. Yeah.
I can't get here every day.
Yeah. Is it nice to think that you could inspire the next John Wragg out there in the world?
Well, it's funny that you should say that, because until recently there was another John Wragg.
Oh, really?
Spelt exactly the same way that my name is, and round about the same age. And we had checked each other out. And funnily enough, I had 2 friends up from London who'd come to see the exhibition who knew the other John Wragg, who was now dead. So he died not long back. So as far as I think I'm the only John Wragg artist around at the moment, but I'm sure there's room for another one.
Will the real John Wraggs please stand up?
Yeah.
I did that a while ago. I found somebody else called Alex Whiteley. He was a Canadian chap.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the early days of Facebook. You need to be careful adding random people on the internet. And I was like, well, you got the same name, bro. We should definitely create a clan. Fantastic. And what would you say to anybody that's come to see your art? By the way, this is one thing I wanted to say to you is I've never been able to do 3D pictures. When you stare and you blur your eyes and then there's a picture hidden behind them. I've never been able to do them. Don't know why. Tried loads of different methods. Can't do them.
Do you mean you can't get the image from them?
Yeah.
When you look?
Yeah. There's an image hidden behind the 3D pictures, the magic art, whatever.
Yeah, the ones that you don't use glasses for.
Yeah. I've never been able to
spend about 10 minutes with you, and I'll show you how to do it.
Oh, okay, that'd be really good, because there's an ongoing joke for one of my favorite movies, which is Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and there's a guy, Ethan Suplee, staring at this thing. He's been there for days. He's brought his packed lunch, and he's trying to get to see the sailboat that's behind the thing. And I've never been able to do it. But some of your artwork, it feels like I'm looking at one of those paintings or one of those drawings, and it's automatically done for me. I love that.
I'm really glad you said that, because what I'm very interested in is the latent image, the image that's lying behind or below the surface. And I think that the kind of structures, as you've just said, enable those kind of qualities to be brought out. I mean, I use a certain form that quite often called the Necker cube, which is the cube that when you look at it as a drawing or as an image, seems to reverse. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, that, because there's a book by a mathematician called Rudy Rucker who talks about that, and he maintains, and I tend to agree with him, that is a glimpse of the 4th dimension. When you see that cube reverse, what he's actually doing, it's reversing around the plane of vision. And the only objects that can do that are 4-dimensional objects. So when that cube neckerizes, you're getting a glimpse of the 4th dimension. I
had a biology teacher years ago. I went to school in Wrexham in North Wales, and he taught me how to find my blind spot. And he was like, so you draw an X on the top left hand, and then you draw, and then you go sort of like southeast to the bottom of the page, draws a dot, and then you stare at the cross, and the dot disappears. And he's like, that's your blind spot right there. And that's just little visual stimulants or in that case, unstimulant. I don't know what that is. It's just fantastic. Blows my mind. And I love a good bit of visual art, that messes with your head a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody likes that. I like those colour blotch things, where you, I think it's one of those tests to see if you're colourblind.
Oh, like the Roche ink blot test.
Yeah. Well, no, there's them. But
where you put
the Rorschach.
And then you open it.
Yeah. And then you see a bunny or something more sinister. If
whatever.
John, I've loved chatting to you. We'll have to do this again because I mean we're coming up 50 minutes. I don't want to keep you too long. You've got a busy day, but
I've got nothing else to do today.
Oh, me too. Let's do another 45 minutes.
Especially to see you.
Do you know what I'm holding right now is in my hand is a copy of my Shrewsbury, and it's got drawn written on it. And this is an event put together by Cherie Gerard. And it's a great event. It's by the time this goes out, by the way, this will be after the fact, so I'm not plugging the event right now. But it's an event where local artists come and they set up a table and they sell their wares. And there's also workshops going on. Do you get involved with things like this? I mean, because it's a good place to meet young artists or even artists that have been doing this for a while. Is there a community of artists that you are a part of locally?
I'm not a member of a community of artists at the moment. I live in Oakengates. We have a theatre there.
Of course,
that shows nothing practically except tribute acts. It's got an art gallery inside it that doesn't show art. I have talked to certain people about it. There isn't a community. Before living in Oakengates, I was living in Spain, where I'd lived for 6 years. And I started a community there where I was living because there wasn't one, and it's now thriving. It's got over 600 members. And I'd very much like to be part of something like that. But I'm really, really on my own where I live now because that's how it is. It's okay. I don't mind because I'm really focused on, what I'm doing and trying to get as much work done before the curtain falls.
Well, I'd definitely recommend Drawn to you just to come up because it's a free arts fair. It's on the 24th and 25th of September. It's in the museum here. Well, I'm not being elitist in any way at all, but I mean, I did, as well as doing my own art, which I kept, apart from the 2 breaks that I've told you about, I exhibited widely. I was a member of this, a member of that. I was teaching. I've had enough of teaching. I just want to focus on what I'm doing in what's left of the time I've got. Oh, that's wonderful, though. It's good that you've got a singular focus.
Yeah.
Because I do say to people, sometimes you got to do that. It's nothing selfish about it. You need to be able to focus on you and doing what you're doing for a little bit.
Well, it's like your parents, isn't it? I mean, they spent, God knows how many years bringing you up, and
they deserve to have that time
running off you. It's time their time after you've got to a certain age, isn't it? It doesn't happen that often now, does it? I mean, kids are still at home when they're 30 or 40. But, you can't spend your whole life caring for others. You've got to care for... The blues song says you can't, what is it? You can't do nothing for nobody until you've done it with yourself.
Exactly.
You can't make it with nobody till you make it with yourself.
Yeah. And this is why I'm a huge advocate for going out there and getting mental health support because if you've got serious mental health issues, and this seems like a weird segue, but it kind of ties in, is that if you do have mental health issues that you need to address, that is probably more important than anything else that's going on in your life right now because you can't be of a stable mind to go to work, to do the rat race, to focus on your art, to do what you need to do. If you're not right up in there, up in the mind, so it's good sometimes to be think about yourself for a little bit,
absolutely,
and go out there and do what you need to do.
It's a question of balance, isn't it? You give, you take, and you give. That's what life's about, or should be.
This room, by the way, in the Hive is very fantastic. The sound in here is fantastic, but I'm looking at all the variation of instruments I got here. It's really cool
pretty
place.
Good, isn't it?
It's very nice.
We could start a band.
Absolutely. If somebody wanted to see some of your work, are you online? Have you got stuff online?
John Wragg, all lowercase, one word. John Wragg, what was it? John Wragg dot.
Should we have a look?
Yeah. Do you know?
Is it .co.uk? .com?
I think it's johnwragg.com.
Should we have a John Wragg?
I have these blockages sometimes. Sorry.
No, it's absolutely fine. John Wragg. This is me. This is my Googling silence. So John Wragg, artist. I'll put. Let's see what comes up. See if you're Googleable. Have you ever Googled yourself before? I've done that a couple of times. There's something here from the Royal Academy of Arts.
No, that's the other John Wragg that we were talking about.
JohnWragg.net.
That's it, johnwragg.net.
Found it, guys. JohnWragg.net. And
Sorry,
yes.
temporary blockage solved.
Oh, no, it's fine. I do it all the time. When I come on a podcast, sometimes I forget the most simple things.
I'm on Facebook as well, John Wragg Art, and I'm on Instagram, Rag82.
And can people buy prints of your work as well?
Yeah, I've got copies of prints here for sale.
Yes.
The ones that are framed are a bit more expensive, but I've got prints in the rack that are unframed.
Nice, wonderful. And I love your work, by the way. We were just doing a TikTok, that, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, and I'm panning across the room at John's work, and there's one right dead center, and it's really striking to look at anyway, but like it just did something weird to the camera. I showed you, didn't I?
You did.
And as we were panning across this huge painting, it just seems to just take a look at it on the social media. This is me trying to plug my finger. It's just mind blowing. It messes with your eyes and does some crazy stuff. It takes you on a journey. Yeah, it really does. So thank you for bringing your art to Shrewsbury and showing people. And I've no doubt, goes without saying that you've definitely sort of inspired people with your art today, this week. Well,
thanks very much. Thanks for this opportunity.
Do you know what? You're welcome on the show.
Great talking to you.
You're welcome on the show anytime. I love speaking to local artists. And Oakengates isn't that too far. We can, Shrewsbury and Telford, Oakengates, we can kind of all enjoy each other's company.
It's a good bus service.
It's a good. We can't get into that in Shrewsbury at the moment. There's a few issues going on there. And thank you to Andy McKeown as well. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, I'll be seeing him on Tuesday.
You're going to go to his studio, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. And take some of my stuff with him, and as he said, come and play.
Take a packed lunch because you're going to need it because there's so many cool toys to play with.
Yeah.
And thank you so much. What we'll do is before we get out of here, I do want to tell you guys. Hold on. Actually, this is going out in October. I'm going to put this out at the beginning of October. So Pod Aid's already happened. So thanks for tuning to Pod Aid, guys. I hope we've raised thousands of pounds for Lincoln Davis. It's weird not having to mention that. It's great. It's like muscle memory. Usually I do it at the end of every podcast, but thank you to everybody that was supportive with Pod Aid. The listeners, the people that donated, the companies that got involved. Love to Stay for letting us use your amazing venue. To Rocking Horse Media for the cameras, and to Reach for making us look fantastic. And Lincoln Davis too, because I know we did this for Lincoln Davis, but they've been an amazing help throughout. So, John, thank you for chatting to me. Thank you for listening, guys, and we will catch you next time.
My pleasure. Great.